Good morning. Rob Gerstenberger here for Betaseed. Welcome to our 2021 Sugarbeet Variety Seed Tour virtually. We're glad to be here virtually, but it's unfortunate that we couldn't meet together like we normally do. But I'm very thankful that Michigan Sugar has offered to get our videos up on the website, and so we can tell you about our Betaseed varieties for 2021. We have three types of varieties now available. We have nematode types, which you're all familiar with and have used over the past few years. The nematode types have kept fields in production that may not be able to grow beets because they have such high pressure. And I'm going to show you a video of a field that has really high pressure and how it impacts a non-nematode variety. We do have non-nematode types, and we have Cercospora plus types, which are very high in Cercospora tolerance. So that's something new that we have to show you. We're bringing in a couple new high tolerant Cercospora plus types to look at. The first variety I want to talk about is 188N, and the photo here on the right is the Sugarbeet advancement trial at Wadsworth. And so you can see the nematode variety on the right standing up nice and lush and green, and then the non-nematode on the left kind of really struggling with the nematode pressure in that field. And we're going to see some big differences, and I'm going to show you that in yield too, from the effects of this nematode pressure here in this field. And it just shows how important the nematode trait has been for our market here in Michigan. 188N is a very strong variety for Aphanomyces, Fusarium, and root aphid. It has high tolerance for nematode, Rhizoctonia. It's a high sugar nematode variety too, so that's one of the big benefits of 188N. It's high sugar and it's high tons. So it's a good choice for your nematode fields and your non-nematode fields. It works good for early dig too. I would suggest planting some 188N this year. I think you'll be really happy with it. I'm going to show you some results on the next couple slides where it's done excellent. So now this is the Wadsworth trial that I just showed you the photo of. And so this trial actually got split into two trials. And so we have an early planted trial. And like everybody knows, early planting this last year, there was some freeze off and there was some seedling disease that impacted emergence. And so there was a lot of replant this last year. In fact, I moved more replant seed than I've ever moved in my 20 years of a sales manager with Betaseed. So there was a lot of replant, but Tom Wadsworth said, hey, let's take advantage of this and let's test and have two trials. And so that's exactly what Tom Wenzel, Tom Wadsworth, and Daniel Bublitz did. They made two trials out of the one trial that they had planted. And so now we had a early planted and a late planted trial. You can see that I was talking about the difference in canopy in the photo, and you can see there was huge differences in yield in the late planted trial where they had great stands. There was from top to bottom, there was 16-ton difference, so that's huge. I highlighted in some of these charts the Betaseed varieties in blue so that it makes it easy for you to see our varieties and know where they performed. But in the late planted trial here, 188 was on top, and it did an excellent job in that field and in that trial. So it was about 34 ton, or it was 34 ton in that particular trial. In the early planted trial, it still did really good. It was as good as the top variety because there's no significant difference between the top 5 varieties. So it's a very good variety, and I guess that's the point of my slide here, is to show you just how good 188N can perform. 197N is another new Betaseed nematode variety. This variety is limited approval this year. It will make full approval next year. It has some great tons and it has really good sugar and was one of the best nematode varieties in the Michigan Sugar Nematode Nursery, and I'm going to show you that on the next slide. It has high Aphanomyces, high Fusarium, high root aphid, high nematode, high Rhizoctonia, and good sugar and high tons. So take a look at 197 this year. We need to move in the direction of higher sugar with these nematode varieties, and 188N and 197N here are going to give you higher sugar out there on your farm. So look at 197N. Here is the Michigan Sugar Cyst Nematode Nursery average of 2 years. 2019, it was at Mark Sylvester's. 2020, it was at Calvin Moss Farm. And 197N is the top variety in the last 2 years in the nematode nursery. So it does yield very good under heavy nematode pressure, and it'll yield under non-nematode pressure. So that's a great thing about the nematode varieties. They will yield in both situations. 188N here did very well too. It's right there in the mix along with 1606. 1606 had a really good year. Mike Hofftailing sent me a picture of a field of his 1606 over by Reese. It was 34.5 tons, and it was just an awesome crop for him. 1606 is a high tons variety, and it's got high rhizoctonia tolerance, high nematode tolerance, high Aphanomyces and Fusarium tolerance, and high root aphid tolerance. 1606 has a really good root disease package, and guys like it for that reason. 1606 has maybe a little shorter canopy than some of the other varieties, but over the last couple years, it's just been an extremely high yielding variety, and one of the better of the varieties for Cercospora tolerance in the nematode varieties. All right, this is a slide of the Mark Sylvester Sugar Beet Advancement trial, and this was a replanted trial too, but it had excellent stands after being replanted, and 188 was on top of this trial. No significant difference between 1606 or 1703, but again, it just shows you here how well the nematode varieties yield, and actually how well 1703 yielded in this trial too. So the Betaseed varieties that were entered in Sugar Beet Advancement had a heck of a good year this year and in Sugar Beet Advancement, and they had a great year out in the fields. Tom Vogel sent me a picture of his 1703 over by Palms, and he had a 80-acre field that did 47.8 ton. I mean, that is awesome, Tom. Great job. 1703 is a high tonnage variety. It made full approval, so it has good sugar. It has very high rhizoctonia tolerance and root aphid tolerance, but its real strength was Cercospora tolerance and Alternaria tolerance. And this year it held up all across the territory. It did a great job against Cercospora and Alternaria and just gave growers fantastic yields. So talk to the farm salesman about 1703. If you didn't try it last year, take a look at it. It's a great variety. We now have 1941, which is one of the first CR Plus varieties that we have to offer. And 1941 has been in the Cercospora nurseries for the last couple years, and it's just been a standout in the Cercospora nurseries. On the right, I have a picture of 1941 amongst all the other varieties that were tested. This is an inoculated nursery, and it gets no fungicide spray. And so you can see 1941 nice and green and no spots on it, and it held up to heavy Cercospora pressure. 1941 has high tons, high rhizoctonia tolerance, high Fusarium tolerance, and good Aphanomyces tolerance. So 1941 will be available. You'll be able to start cutting back your sprays with these types of varieties. Another CR Plus variety we have coming is 1065. 1065 is very similar to 1941, similar in tons, similar in disease tolerance, but it's a little higher sugar. So we're excited to see 1065 out in the field too this year in a little more limited situation than 1941, but still we're going to have it available. So talk to the ag staff and talk to the farm salesman about both of these CR Plus varieties. We did have a strip of 1941 near my house in Sandusky, and it was in a field of 1703. The field averaged 39 ton. the strips of 1703 and 1941 that we weighed, and I actually had Tom Wenzel weigh it for me, did 49 ton. It was a little better area of the field, but it just shows that 1941 has comparable yield as 1703. The sugar was about a half a point less, but 1941 will give you great RWSA and a good return in revenue per acre. So we did see it out there in this field. I'm confident that it's going to be a big benefit for a lot of growers. We're thinking that placement of these CR Plus varieties would be for a guy that has a big operation and is spread out, and maybe you got a field that's a long ways from your shop, and it would save you a lot of time if you didn't have to travel quite as often to spray that field. So that's one way that we think we could benefit from these CR Plus varieties. You just don't have to spray them as much. So talk to the sales agents about both the 1941 and 1065, and let's see it out there next year in your field. All right, this slide here is a slide I've done for a number of years, and it's been on my flyer if you've came to Seed Week. What I've did is I've taken the 2019 and the 2020 Michigan Sugars OVT data, and where they have it ranked on revenue per acre, and I sorted it by company so that I could easily look at each company and see how the disease traits stack up for each company. I also did some color formatting where green is the best for each characteristic or trait, and red is where each variety would be weaker in a characteristic or trait. And so you can just see how the companies all stack up here. My salesman will have a copy of this. If you would like a copy, give them a call. I also want to point out here that the Betaseed varieties, on average, if you was to grow all the Betaseed varieties, they will return on average as well as any other company out there. In fact, they're just a buck or two ahead of the competition. Lastly, I want you to think about the Betaseed quality control when you're buying your seed for 2021. Each box of Betaseed has been tested at least 6 times for germination and more. So we have just been delivering fantastic quality. You know, it just is good to know that when you're going to plant a sugar beet seed out there, that seed's going to germinate. We also test all our varieties. We do what's called marker testing so that we know that the variety is true to type. We screen our varieties in a Roundup Ready grow out test for mortality so that we're not out there here in the commercial field and spraying and then we're losing beets because they don't have the Roundup gene in them. So all these tests are being done in Oregon at our processing plant. We test for size and plantability too, so that you can be guaranteed that this seed is going to flow through your planter and you're going to get nice spacing out in the field. I have a group of salesmen around the area, and I have their phone numbers here. Jot down the phone number and give them a call and talk about the early book discount. They can tell you how long that goes. They can tell you about our early pay discount, sizing. They can help you place varieties on your farm. If you have a question about a field, which variety should I use? I think they can give you great advice because they know our products. They have additional performance information too. So if you're interested in looking at more information than I've been able to show you today, they will be able to help you with that. Next, I have coming up a video that I took this fall while everybody was out working, and it's not real long, and I've kind of hustled through these slides because I want you to take a look at this video. And so I'm going to play that video, and I want to wish you all a great 2021. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Thanksgiving's coming up soon here too. And so enjoy your family over Thanksgiving. We did have such a nice year to get work done, and it's been just a great year. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we can all be together again next year and shaking hands and put this behind us, all this nonsense we've been going through in 2020. But with that, I'm going to move to the video. Enjoy the video. It's not real long, but it'll give you a nice look at how our varieties perform out in the field. Good morning, Rob Gerstenberger here for Betaseed. Today I want to take you on a little virtual tour of some of our Betaseed varieties that you'll be able to purchase for the 2021 season. I'm going to be talking about the nematode varieties, and I'm going to move to a nematode trial and show you the effects of nematode on sugar beets, what the benefits of the nematode varieties are. I'm also going to show you some of our current commercial varieties that are doing really well. I'm standing in a field of 1703 actually. That's going to be an awesome field. I'm going to show you some of our new hybrids potentially for sale this fall too. A couple first year varieties, one non-nematode that is a Cosper Plus variety that's going to have some great benefits, so I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm also going to show you a new nematode variety that we'll have available this fall too. So coming to you today virtually because of the unique conditions that we are all in this year, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hey, I'm standing in a strip of 1606. You can see this variety looks lush and beautiful all the way across the field. Next to me is one of our competitor non-nematode varieties, and it's been hit pretty hard by nematodes and also by disease. So we've got some Rhizoctonia in it. If you pull up a beet, you can usually find the cysts on them. This one's kind of ugly because not only does it have nematodes, but it's getting some rot into it too. So if you've got nematode problems in your field, you know, it really pays to use one of the Betaseed nematode varieties. This last year we offered two nematode varieties. We had Betaseed 1606 and Betaseed 188N. The 1606 is a very high tonnage variety, real good on Rhizoctonia and Phenomyces. Next to me is a competitor variety. I think you can see how much shorter the canopy is here on that competitor variety, how lush and green our Betaseed 188N here is. Here, and I'm just gonna pull a beet to kind of show you. We really have a nice looking beet here. 188N is our newest nematode variety that we offered this last year. Very nice field. I think we're gonna see some big differences in tonnage here between the nematode and non-nematode varieties. This is kind of like a nematode nursery here, this field, and really emphasizes the value of the Betaseed nematode varieties. So I'll look forward to having a chance to visit with you about the nematode varieties and how they would fit on your farm. I'm in a field of sugar beets here looking at a new nematode variety that we will have available next year. It's called 197N. Now this variety was the highest yielder in OVTs last year. It's just a tremendous yielding variety. We want to see what the data looks like this year on the variety again. But I've got a strip here, 18 rows wide, and we're going to weigh this out and see how the tonnage compares to our current varieties that we have available. But I've got high hopes for this variety for this coming years for you growers that need nematode tolerant varieties. I'm at the Saginaw Valley Research and Education Center, and I'm going to pan around here. I'm at the Cosper nursery here. This is an inoculated trial where we submit all our commercial hybrids for testing. We also have similar trials across the country, one at Randolph, Minnesota. I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to show you
a couple of our new Betaseed hybrids. This variety right here is a second-year variety. It's called Betaseed 1941. So it has very good Cercospora tolerance, and it's one of our Cercospora Plus varieties. So it's a new source Cercospora Plus variety. Currently, it's not showing hardly any spots in it and held up well. So this is an inoculated nursery that has had no fungicide on it. So it's really interesting to see how these new source varieties are holding up to Cercospora in an inoculated nursery. These 4 rows here are some first-year varieties that we have coming too. So they're holding up very well to Cercospora too in this trial. In wrapping up our virtual tour, the non-nematode are generally a little better on Cercospora tolerance. So take 1703. It was the best overall variety between Cercospora and Alternaria leaf spot. Remember that when you're making your seed selections for 2021. And yield reports this year have been fantastic with 1703. So it would make a nice variety for your farm. Also, if you have nematode pressure, I hope today that I was able to show you that there can be big differences between the nematode varieties. Even though nematode varieties don't generally have the Cercospora tolerance that the 1703, 1399 types have, they also have their benefits, and there's nothing that can really help you if you have nematode pressure in your field other than a nematode variety. The difference in canopy in Sugarbeet advancement trial that we looked at today, I know we're going to see huge differences in yields between the nematode and the non-nematode varieties in that particular Sugarbeet advancement trials. We have our high yielding, strong disease tolerant 1606. We have 188N, which is a high sugar, good disease tolerant variety too. And then we have 197N, and I showed you a strip of 197N. 197N looks like it may be the highest yielding of all the nematode varieties that we have to offer. So we're getting fabulous yields from 1606 right now, and remarks from customers on how good that variety is yielding for them. 197N could even top that variety, I expect. So think about those 3 choices for your nematode fields. Then I also showed you a new Cercospora Plus variety in this video, and it's going to be 1941 is the number. That variety could potentially be for sale again this year too, and that variety is even better than 1703 on Cercospora. We would love the opportunity to talk about varieties with you. I have a group of sales agents around Michigan and one in Ontario. Contact one of our sales agents to get the latest on the varieties. I appreciate you attending the virtual tour today.